Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I am your host, Catherine Basu. I'm so excited that you are tuning in for today's episode of the Fit 15, which, as you may or may not have noticed, is actually a lot longer than 15 minutes. Sometimes this happens. This one's actually almost 3 times as long as 15 minutes, but it was really inspirational, and so I wanted to keep that and have you guys get all the value out of listening to what my guest Bonnie has to share. So I will still encourage you to get up and get moving while listening to this podcast. I will still play my little soundbite when we get to 7.5 minutes, that halfway point for 15 minutes, because there is something magical about getting moving for at least 15 minutes a day. So still will do all that, but wanted to let you know the podcast is a little longer than normal, but I think it's for a good reason. My guest Bonnie has a lot of great nuggets of inspiration, so definitely tune in for the whole thing whenever you have a chance, and definitely tune in till the end. All right, on to today's podcast. My guest today is Bonnie Gillespie. Bonnie is living her dreams by helping others figure out how to live theirs. As a weekly columnist, she demystified the casting process for more than 15 years. Her most popular book is Self-Management for Actors, the curriculum upon which her teaching is based. As producer and casting director, Bonnie specializes in indie darlings. Whether casting or coaching, she is passionate about leaving the entertainment industry better than she found it. More info and free resources galore await you at bonniegillespie.com. Welcome, Bonnie. Thank you so much for joining me and helping me pronounce your last name.
You bet, Catherine, anytime. I'm happy to be here.
So on my podcast show, I feature either guests that are sharing, information-focused tips. So maybe they are a scientist and kind of sharing some research with us, or inspiration. And I know you have a really inspirational story, so I'm excited to have you share that with our guests.
Cool. I'm so happy to be here. It's one of those things where I didn't realize it was going to inspire others until I just started being asked, like, what have you done? What's different? What's going on? And then I said, I guess I could talk a little about this. And now it's become something people are coming to me for, which is really cool and unexpected, because I got fit for me. And the fact that it's helped others come up with ways that maybe they can challenge themselves to make changes even late in life is an awesome bonus.
That is super cool. And I love how you've identified the fact that you were able to finally make it work when you were trying to get fit for yourself, because a lot of people don't see that until further down the line. I can tell you from my experience as a personal trainer for sure.
True.
So what was the impetus for why did you decide to make that change for yourself?
It was one of those rock bottom kind of things where I had just been, let's see, at the time that this happened, I had just turned 46, and I had just come off this amazing cruise. I had gone on the Abraham Hicks Alaska cruise. So I was riding high and feeling just so spiritually connected and embracing the self-care and just really loving life, except my body. I was just in a place where I wasn't sleeping well. I was sleeping very few hours, and the sleep I was getting was fitful, restless. I was carrying around a lot of extra weight. I was struggling. And even though I've always been pretty fit, meaning there's always been some kind of fitness routine and I'm pretty active, I didn't have the body that matched the level of activity that I was putting in. And it always felt like, man, something's just not clicking. And what happened, I think, was I really felt that contrast of starting to feel so good on so many levels, my business going beautifully, my relationship just firing on all cylinders, spirituality off the hook, money great. And then this suit that I walk around in is just filled with unpleasantness, and something's got to give. And I was like, I'm a smart cookie. I can figure this out. Why can't I? And I had tried everything. I had done, all the commercial diets. I had done, I'd thrown a lot of money at it, had done food delivery programs and calorie restricted things. I'd been gluten-free since 2004. So I knew that it was, food first, and the workout obviously is a part of everything, but that there's no amount of working out that can fix a poor diet. So I thought I was doing a lot of things right, but I just had a moment where I was out in one of the outdoor malls here in LA, and a fan of my book saw me and tried to get my attention and run across the space to get me and say hello and thank you for the book. This is something I normally love. And
Sure.
I felt myself going, don't see me, don't see me. No, don't see me. How can I hide? How can I not have to engage? Because I felt so bad. I was just physically miserable. And I got in the car, and on the drive home was talking to my husband, and the whole drive home I said, this is it. I'm done. I've got to change my ways because I don't want to have to run from the success that I've built.
Right.
And because I was feeling like crap physically, that's the choice that I was making. And I had recently heard about Whole30. And I was like, well, tell me a little more about that. Because being gluten-free, I understand restricting certain things from your diet. And I love the idea of being a little bit of a science experiment and learning over the course of a very strict elimination diet for 30 days, as you start to put things back in, what your body treats as medicine and what it treats as poison and what it's neutral about. And I thought, I could do anything for 30 days. But that rock bottom, I think, had to happen because I needed to feel so bad that I had to ask myself, what are you building all this awesome success for if you can't really enjoy it?
Right.
And I think I was right at an age where I said, it's not going to get easier to enjoy a lot of these things that I want to invite into my life. I need to really embrace the time I've got now. And so I said, it's 30 days. At this point, I'd lived like 17,000 days. I can do anything for 30. And I followed it to the letter. I was 100%, I'm going to be so strict about this so that I learn. And what I learned as I invited things back into my diet is that I can't do dairy. I can't do sugar. I can't do alcohol. I can't do, not all grains, but the gluten-based grains. And, people then hear that now and say, oh my God, that's so restrictive. And I go, no, it's freeing. Because I completely rewired the place in my brain that craved those things for so long. And that even if I was having a healthy meal.
We just hit our halfway point for those of you who are going out and back for a 15-minute walk. So if you need to, turn around.
A low calorie meal, a low glycemic index meal, I was still putting things in my body that my body was having to fight.
Got it. So no, actually, I have to ask you quickly because I've heard of the Whole30, but I haven't actually looked into all the details of it. So does everyone that goes through it end up with the same result? It's more about seeing what works for your body.
And that's what I love about it, because it really tracks with the work that I do in self-management for actors. The book that you had talked about in my bio and that I had mentioned this person being a fan of when she saw me across the room. It is all about, yes, track patterns, pay attention to what works, but ultimately choose what's going to align with you and your gut, because there is no one size fits all recipe for success in anything. And especially in something like show business, where there's so much freedom and people are constantly looking for rules within the freedom. And it's an interesting paradox. The same is true about Whole30. There are very strict rules for those 30 days. It's no alcohol, no sugar, no soy, no dairy, no grains of any kind, no legumes. Those are the big six that you eliminate. So it basically means nothing with ingredients. You just are eating a ton of whole foods. You're not, there's so many added sugars and things that, yes, if you are going to have fruit, you have to do it according to a plate map so that it's really well balanced protein and high quality carbohydrates, green leafy vegetables, all the things that we know are good for us. And by trusting that this plate map is going to give us everything we need without the ingredients that can be triggering, and it's different for everyone, we are running clean for 30 straight days. And at the end of the 30 days, you go through a 2-week reintroduction period where one item at a time, you bring something back in and test it. And if it makes you sick, there's a clue that maybe you shouldn't invite it into your body every day. And I was eating cheese every day, and I now rarely, and I say rarely rather than never, because if there's some really great goat cheese on a beet salad, I'm going to have my goat cheese on a beet salad. But I also know the repercussions. I know that I'm then the next day going to be a little sinusy or have a headache that I didn't have to have. And knowing that that's a choice is incredibly empowering. But so the results are different for everyone. Someone can do a round of Whole30, and then after reintroduction, they can learn that they're actually fine with all the grains, and including wheat gluten. They may not have an issue with that. It's just everybody's body is different in how it processes the things that we put in it.
Well, that's really neat. I definitely didn't know all that, and love the idea behind it. I knew that it was 30 days because of the whole 30 part, and I had an idea that it focused on whole foods, which I really, really like, but didn't know more of the details. But I will say that every time I go to a nutrition conference or even a behavior change conference, what they bring up again and again is that there is no right, perfect diet for everyone, which is why I often don't look into different diets. But people definitely want to feel like there is only one way to eat healthy, whatever that is this week, and based on whoever is giving us the correct, I'm putting that in quotes, version of how to eat healthy this week. I'm definitely glad to learn that the Whole30 doesn't preach that kind of a message.
Well, and one of the worst parts about that is it then makes you feel like shit because you failed. And for me, just from a behavioral standpoint, it was incredibly discouraging to do a year and a half of Bistro MD, and no shade on them. That works for some people. It works for a lot of people. They have wonderful testimonials for how well it works for some people. But I was getting a steady stream of dairy and non-gluten, non-wheat gluten grains and things and sugars that my body just was having to combat. And I had no idea that in doing something that I felt like, what's wrong with me? I'm a failure. What was a failure was I had mismatched a perfectly fine system for what my body's needs are. And you can't create lasting change if you are lining up with something that is never meant to work with what your needs are, just biologically.
Sure. No, it's awesome. So you went through the 30 days and you felt a lot better after that. And so really was the food was the...
It didn't even take 30. It didn't even take 30. Like I started feeling great like a week in. You go through that first little period, and they call this day 5 is called kill all the things, because by day 5 you're just so over it. And I definitely went through everything as scheduled, but I found my quality of sleep just skyrocketed. And I went, whoa, I have been missing out on a major reload that my body needs just in terms of rest. And I'm building an empire over here, so I'm working hard every day. And the fact that I wasn't getting high quality sleep, I didn't realize the deficit that put me at in so many ways. That was phenomenal. And that change was almost instant.
We often think about being healthy is, fitness, food. I feel like sleep's become more important. Just we talk about it more because so many of us haven't been getting good sleep for so long. But it definitely is important to have that on our minds that, if you're not getting enough sleep, and it could be because of the other factors of, not moving enough or maybe moving too much. Like sometimes if we are working out too hard, we're affecting our ability to sleep well too, and then how we're eating. So I like that you shared that.
Oh, it made a huge change for me because, I've now lost more than 55 pounds. I say more than because sometimes it's getting close to 60 pounds, but I'm not ready to claim that one yet because I haven't stuck at that. But and most of the weight was lost over 5.5 months. It came off super fast. And I wasn't trying to diet. I wasn't restricting my intake other than just eating in accordance with what I learned during the round of Whole30, and by eating whatever I want, whenever I want, but within that new lesson of what my body treats as medicine versus poison, it made just massive changes that people were seeing. Obviously, as I walked around in life, that's a lot of weight to lose in such a short period of time. And people would say, well, so what's been the best part of Whole30? Being so smart and sure that I was going to say, oh my God, fitting into sizes I haven't worn since high school or whatever. And I said, the sleep. And people are always shocked that I say that's the biggest benefit. That quality of restorative sleep has absolutely changed my business, my relationship. Like everything has gotten even better. And it was already really great because I am firing on all cylinders. I am working at higher capacity than ever just because of the quality of my rest.
That's awesome. And one thing too, just as a personal trainer, people don't realize that, like I'll often have clients like tell me how much they're sleeping, and then if they're not sleeping enough, I say, well, can you try to get like 1 more hour of sleep? And that can often just be enough to impact your hormone levels that you do start losing weight, and like all the hard work you're putting in elsewhere is actually seen. So there's definitely something to that.
And speaking to that, the work I was putting in elsewhere, I had started a pole fitness journey, so pole dancing for fitness in 2012, and I had been a very active plus size pole dancer for, at that point, I guess, gosh, that's 4.5 years, 5. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a while. And as I started losing weight with Whole30 and this new lifestyle of the foods that I invite into my world, I found that I can do things that I never thought possible in pole. And I'm also learning what tricks are hard because they're hard versus what was hard because I was carrying around extra weight.
Sure.
To realize that I am so strong and so fit, and I had no idea because I had this extra layer of so much. It's just been really phenomenal to watch my body turn into a machine for the exercise, and I mean that in all the best ways. That I'm hungry for workouts, whereas before I always looked at workouts as a punishment for what I had eaten wrong or to try and get things back on track. I now see workouts as a celebration of what this body can do. And it feels amazing. I get it now. And I'm now 47 saying I get it. And I can't wait to go to the gym. I never, 27-year-old me would have never expected this to come out of my mouth.
It's funny, I've had some other guests I've talked to, and this has come up a lot, just that reframe of, gratitude for your body, whatever it took to get there, that keeps coming up as a theme. So it's interesting that you share that you're looking forward to your workouts because you're able to, to show what your body, yourself really, what your body can do. That's awesome.
It's a celebration for what this thing is that carts around my brain and my heart and my soul. And I never thought I would have this kind of relationship with my body. And I love that I'm getting to do so young enough to still really enjoy it. That's the part that feels great.
I love that. So the journey then has been, so the weight loss was like more recent, but you adjusted your fitness journey to include maybe some more fun aspects like the pole dancing before that. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about that? Like what led you to find something different and how that process went maybe?
Totally. I never saw fitness as fun. I always saw it as that thing I have to do as punishment for what I've chosen to eat, basically, or to try and keep my metabolism going over a certain age. Obviously that's a concern. And when I knew I was interested in pole fitness because one of my students, an actor that I train with the Self-Management for Actors curriculum, had invited me to graduation from her pole class years ago. I'm going to say this was like in 2009. And I remember being in the studio and just experiencing her graduation dance. And I was so emotional. And I just felt like I'm very masculine energy. I, run a business. I have a team. I'm a leader. I come from a very masculine communication style and just lifestyle. And I feel that I've probably walled off a lot of my femininity just out of necessity in a lot of ways. And also childhood trauma and all the reasons that women can sometimes block off their femininity for safety's sake or for perceived safety's sake.
Right.
And yeah, and I think that I knew pole was going to unlock things for me on a lot of levels. Just in addition to it being fun and a serious workout.
Yeah. It is.
There was also just this little tickle in the back of my mind of this could actually be a breakthrough on a lot of levels. But I didn't go right away. It took, obviously, if that graduation of hers was in 2009 and I started in early 2012, it was a few years before I finally warmed up to it. And what I did was I said, I keep thinking about it. Let's just try it out. It was a 6-week class, and I went ahead and bought, having never even touched a pole, bought the 6 weeks and it was going to start on my husband's birthday. So he came home from running errands, and I had this huge grin on my face, and he said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I just bought your birthday present." And he said, "What did I get?" And I said, 6 weeks of pole classes. And he said, "Best wife ever."
I love it.
And so I joked about how it was the present that I was getting for him, but I knew within 10 minutes in the room, it was a present I was getting for me. I was going to be rebuilding a relationship with my feminine self. I was going to be, yes, getting a workout, but also just having this supportive environment where there's cheering one another on and celebrating in ways that we don't often encounter as adults, as females, within our workout. Like, that kind of environment is a little odd to bump into. And so I say it's a little bit like church and sorority house and gym all in one. And I'm in. I love it. It's definitely life-changing.
It's so funny you share that, because I've taken pole classes before myself, and I mean, I would love to get back into it because I think it really is such a great workout. And I know I'm always really inspired by competitive pole athletes and their levels of flexibility and strength, but definitely didn't go into class looking for some of those added benefits that you mentioned that are definitely there. Because when you go to a class, it is all women taking the class. Any class I've been to has always been a really supportive environment. And while it's not something that is usually marketed as a fitness class, although there are some pole fit classes, but most of the time you're there to feed those other aspects and goals in your life and in your soul versus to get a workout. But the workout does end up being a byproduct of being a part of the class. So yeah, didn't really give this much thought before, but for any women who are interested in an all women's workout that is a supportive environment and is different than some of those cookie cutter versions that you might not have been into before, would definitely recommend, especially based on our conversation here, Bonnie, that they go and check out a pole class or pole fitness class.
And to be clear, I'm incredibly modest when it comes to what I wear in pole class. I dress like I'm going to a yoga class. They joke about how I am the one in like turtleneck and sweats, that's an exaggeration, obviously. But I'm not into all the heels and the outfit. And certainly there are people who go in that direction, and that's fine for them. For me, this is something where I get to move my body in ways that I never would have an opportunity to do so otherwise. I get to lift my body weight and flip myself upside down. I get to fly. The fact that I can have any kind of day out there at work and then can come and defy gravity. Mm-hmm. And I wore one of those Fitbit things for a while, and my average class was around a 482, I think was the low, to a 600 calorie burn.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that is the most efficient fitness ever, just from a caloric burn. I mean, I'm sure you would know the actual stats on where something falls, but I was really surprised at how much was being burnt in that amount of time, because those dances are no joke. And lifting your body weight constantly, it's now not as good a workout for me because of the weight that I've lost, because I'm not lifting as much, but it's okay. I'll take it. It's the benefits of trying new kinds of fitness, I think, are not to be ignored. And in fact, next week I'm taking my first trapeze class, because I'm just I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I definitely like the idea of trying new things and pushing myself, and the idea of defying gravity is always something that I'm excited about. So
I love that. So do you then, Bonnie, find, and I think this is clear from our talk, but I often find when I talk to other entrepreneurs that there are a lot of parallels between what they're doing in fitness and results they get because of what they're doing in their fitness world that end up benefiting the rest of their lives. So especially since you're mentioning this love of being able to fly, I wonder if you could touch on that for us and share how having fitness be a big part of your routine has impacted your personal and professional life.
Without question. I built a program for my students, they're not all actors, even though my book is Self-Management for Actors. It's actors, creatives, storytellers of all kinds, screenwriters, singer-songwriters, people in the entertainment industry. I created a program last year, shortly after I finished Whole30, that first round, and decided to make a life change out of it, that was largely based on the kind of self-care that I found integral to making lasting change for myself. And as I created this course last year, I thought, this is really bold of you to create something that's not even about acting. Of course it is, but because everything I do is within the framework of the entertainment industry. But if there's not that baseline of self-care and commitment to boundaries, we can't succeed in anything that we try to do, at least not long term. And I found that investing in that kind of energy for my business, while then proving that I would hold those boundaries for myself and not letting a client rush in with an emergency that's suddenly going to derail my schedule or my day, because I'm not a surgeon and you haven't paid me enough to save your life to make me clock in at 2:00 in the morning just because your agent dropped you. Like, we have to be realistic about where our boundaries are, I think, especially as entrepreneurs, because we love what we do and we want to do it all the time, but we also have to be clear in this is where the line is with a lot of that. And I think in building that program modeled after sort of what support I needed as I was making these major life changes last year, I then created a gift for my community that has now revolutionized my business. And I have found that I've just had massive success with this program that was based entirely in, this is the kind of support I would want as I were making changes, any kind of changes. And I would say that I'm shocked that it has done so well, but I'm not, because I see how well I've done with the changes that I made. And I know that when we commit to anything that we really feel connected with, we can completely change our lives. We can revolutionize anything we want. But it does take that level of commitment, and for ourselves. Like, it's not for anybody else. Yes, you can be outwardly motivated. Yes, you can have, like, I've got an accountability buddy and these goals and these certain challenges, mini challenges, whatever, that can keep us motivated. But I think motivation and inspiration are two different things. And I find the work that I do that comes from an inspired place actually has the more lasting impact than the stuff that comes from a motivated place.
That's really interesting. So then how, Bonnie, do you define the difference between motivation and inspiration?
I can be motivated by external forces. A coach can motivate me. A deadline can motivate me. A group getting involved in a challenge simultaneously, the new year, a birthday. Like, there can be certain things outside of me that motivate me. Inspiration is, I jump out of bed and just feel it in my gut, and I know I can't not do it, and it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. And I think that's why, for me, it was so interesting that this thing for me, this whole 30 journey, started from a place of, I don't want to feel like I'm hiding from my life. So my start date was on a random Friday.
Right.
And people were like, well, no, you should plan for it and then execute first of the month. It's 30 days. Like, and there's all these people that say you're going to have better success if you try. And I'm like, fuck that. I appreciate what all the statistics say about what creates success, but I have to be fired up to do it. And I think that's true for our businesses as well. I hear people talk about, well, you have to have this launch strategy and you have to send an email at this o'clock on this day of the week to get this kind of open rate. And I'm like, no, I do it when my gut says hit send. And maybe you have stats that tell me that's a poor business decision, but if I'm not aligned with it, I'm not going to follow through. And that follow through is how I become the best version of myself for my clients and for myself.
I love that. So are you offering that program again then?
Yep.
How often do you run it? And just maybe you want to share any details for anyone be resonating with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Getting Gear for the Next Tier. And the way this works, it actually stems off a free year-end program that we do called Getting Gear for the New Year. And that's why the naming structure is as it is. Getting Gear for the New Year is a free 11-day program that we do and have done for years. That's just an inbox-based training, totally free, massive value, impact-filled daily snippets on what you can do to upgrade things that are going to send you into the new year feeling like everything is clicking. And so if that, for the actors, that's your headshot looks great, your resume's formatted correctly, your cover letter's spruced up, your web presence feels great, your bio's rewritten, like a demo reel is edited correctly. So it's a lot of actor tools that obviously can extend to any creative within the entertainment industry. And when getting gear for the next tier was conceived, it was, people keep saying as they finish the free challenge, I wish this wouldn't end. And so being responsive to the feedback we were getting for that program, I said, well, I know I want to have something out there ready for them to join January 1st, 2017 was the game plan. And so then, of course, this life change for me happened in mid 2016. And I started piecing together, this is going to be the program. And it's a 100-day challenge that you can start anytime. You don't have to wait till the first of the year. It's just that's when most people tend to jump on, because it just lends itself to that so beautifully. But it's open enrollment. We have people joining every day. And it's just, again, because I know people can be self-motivated and say, I want to pick my 100 days today because this is 100 days that are meaningful to me. And it's got concepts of obviously working through all the actor tools, but a lot of mindset, a lot of self-care, a lot of money mindset and money management, because creatives aren't necessarily so great at managing their books. And so we talk about clearing a lot of blocks about the guilt that we feel earning a living as artists. And so it's really comprehensive, and it's been incredibly powerful.
I love that, how you've created a offering for that niche that you specialize in working with, but then have structured it in a way that worked for you when you were going through making those healthy lifestyle changes. So that's super cool. I know I feel like this is a huge breath of fresh air hearing your thoughts on launch strategy. I know I have many listeners who are entrepreneurs who are going to relate to that, and hopefully that'll make them feel just better, whether they're thinking about approaching something in their business today or something related to their health journey. So I appreciate that idea of being more intuitive when it comes to those life choices. So we'll definitely have to link up the program for you, Bonnie, for anyone that's resonating with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're welcome to come check it out. Just definitely come do the free year-end challenge timing-wise, if that works for you. But definitely would love to have you poke around and see if it feels like a good fit.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Bonnie, anything else you want to share? I guess maybe for people listening that, I don't know, I guess if they've hit their rock bottom, they might be going through a tough time. So maybe if they're not really there yet, or just any tips you have for people kind of that maybe feeling like they've tried everything and they're stuck. What are some tools that they could try to just try to get a little lesson out of what you've been able to do?
As I hear you framing that question as when you've tried everything, I think looking back, I would have said I had tried everything. The thing I had not tried was really showing up for myself every day. And I mean that in all senses of the phrase, that showing up for myself meant, yes, going through with a workout, even if I didn't feel like it. But it also meant taking a nap if that's what my body was begging for. It meant committing for me to these 30 days and following it to the letter. I mean, I was a straight A student, 100% following my whole 30, because I said, it's just 30 days. I can do anything for 30 days. I mean, I've lived so many thousands of days. Of course, I can do anything for 30. Let me give myself this, because at least at the end of it, I will have an education about what it is I'm choosing to put in my body. And I think that choosing to put in my body phrasing is incredibly important, because I'm a grown-ass woman. I make my own choices, and sometimes that choice is ice cream. I'm not going to lie. I had ice cream just last week, and the people are like, wait, whoa, hey, now I'm confused. I had ice cream, and I am aware the consequences of choosing to have ice cream.
Right.
So it's not labeled a cheat day. It's not that, I've been bad. It's I make choices and my choices have consequences. And that's always true. And I find that I feel better when my choices are really just bathed in self-care. And that's the part that I think I had not tried, because I threw a lot of money and a lot of energy at systems and plans and resolutions and diets and challenges, certain that if I just worked hard enough, it could work. And what my lesson was through all of this is it's not the working hard that makes it click. It's the really listening to yourself and being in tune with what your body and your heart is trying to tell you. And I knew every time I ate cheese, this may not be the best choice, but I like cheese. Okay, well, that I had to say to myself at one point, especially when I would want cheese or want popcorn or want vodka soda, you name it, whatever the thing was, I would say, but I want. And then the phrase I would repeat back to myself is, but I want to change more. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, made all the difference, because really owning that I had done all the other stuff and was ready to change meant I could go all in on this experiment for 30 days and then have awareness at the end of it. And I think that's what made all the difference. And that's why here we are now, coming up on a year and a half since the first round of Whole30. And I'm down, as I said, 55 to 60 pounds. More than that, I just feel amazing. And that is a gift that I don't think that you can even put a monetary value on. It's so good. It's priceless.
Mm-hmm. So even though the plan was strict itself, you found the success from being motivated because it was something that you wanted to do for yourself.
Yeah, and sure, it's fine to be motivated by, I want to get back into this pair of jeans, or I've got a class reunion coming up, or whatever. Those things are fantastic if they can light the fire. But ultimately, I wanted to learn what I said. I built an empire on throwing things into my body like it's a dumpster. What could I create if I actually were more mindful and had more care and love going into the way I treat my body? And really everything from a decadent bubble bath to massages to the workouts to the quality of the food that I choose. I've found that treating myself at that higher level has had amazing payoff. It's just been an investment that I will never regret.
I love that you use that word investment, because taking that time for self-care, whether it's for movement, for fitness, for learning how to eat healthy for our bodies, or getting enough sleep, really truly is an investment and actually does end up paying off in many ways, including financially, even though we don't often think that right away. And I found that for myself with my own clients and in speaking to entrepreneurs, whether they were the entrepreneurs I interviewed for my book that I published last year, or just, friends of mine that are entrepreneurs. So I love how you framed your own experience in that way, as being a real investment in yourself.
The very first thing I do on every month's calendar is plot out my pole classes and my Pilates classes, my massages and trips to the day spa. Those are my non-negotiables that go on the calendar first. After that, I publish my calendar so my clients can get on my schedule. But everything that is to take care of my body and invest in me and my self-care goes first. And I am unapologetic about that. Because I see the benefits that it creates. And if I go, yeah, I could skip that Pilates class to meet with that client, then I'm not role modeling the kind of leadership that I want for her.
Right.
I want her to be a role model, as if she's an actress or a screenwriter or a director. I want her to be the kind of role model that says, I'm not going to roll over for whatever the studio says I need to do. I'm going to take care of myself first. And if that means we push the shoot a week, so be it, and not have these outside power structures tell you, no, this is the way it's got to be. And especially for us as entrepreneurs, when we feel like, oh, I failed, I didn't meet this deadline, and then we go, hang on, who made the deadline? I did.
That's true.
The whole reason we create our business for ourselves is so we can have this freedom, and then we treat ourselves so poorly when we miss a deadline. And we know the difference between slacking off and providing self-care. And I just think being really clear on that mindfulness makes a big difference.
Totally agree. Really enjoyed hanging out with you, Bonnie, obviously, because we spent more than 15 minutes chatting, but that's okay.
I hope it's okay. I had fun.
But no, I think, your story is really inspiring, and I loved learning more about, the program that you have. So I'm sure that some people that will really resonate with. I mean, one thing I find is that everyone, as a personal trainer, I try to expose people to different types of fitness, just myself, but then also I found in my own fitness journey, just, I had to try a few things a few times before things have clicked, or I decide I like them or not. And so I think even the way that we go through like a journey to start, different people are going to resonate with us. So definitely want to make sure they can check that out. And I that was exciting to learn about. And where can people find more about you? I'll put all the links, but just if you want to share anything about that or any free resources that they should definitely check out based on our conversation.
Yeah, BonnieGillespie.com is the place to go to get all the juicy info. There's a start page right there, big link right up front for you to get started, and it breaks a lot of my free and low-cost resources down into categories. The category that doesn't exist yet is any kind of coaching about fitness and wellness and health and sobriety and all the things that people have started coming to me for, which is awesome and exciting. But as I continue to lean into that, I will probably have a little more of that front and center. But absolutely BonnieGillespie.com. And then the start page from there would be the first stop, I would say.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bonnie. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope we'll continue to connect either online or in person now that we know we're so close.
Absolutely, Catherine. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.